We want to make friends with our thoughts because the person we spend the most time with is our thoughts, our mind, right? So noticing the thoughts, the judgments, the resistance, like how that shows up, that inner critic, imposter syndrome, however it shows up for you. That's the most, that's the person, so to speak, that we spend all of our time with. It's constantly talking to us, giving us ideas and its opinions and its judgments and it's this, that, and the other. So we want to make friends with it by paying attention to it, by recognizing, and I don't mean like because it's a needy attention seeker. I mean, it kind of is, but we want to pay attention to it to notice, how am I talking to myself? Because 9 times out of 10, the way we talk to ourselves in our head, we would never talk that way to somebody else. And we want to start thinking of how can we make our brain, our inner critic, talk to us the same way we would talk to our friends. But also when we do this, when we make friends with our thoughts, we take a lot of the pressure off, because like now when a judgment comes up, we're not going to judge the judgment. Isn't that just a vicious cycle that just can keep on going forever? We notice, oh, I'm being really critical of myself right now, but I'm not going to beat myself up for having this thought. I'm not going to, continue to think of like all the other ways that I'm a horrible human being. I'm going to just notice like, oh, I had this judgment. Maybe choosing to investigate a little bit why. Like, where did this thought come from? Oh, that's right, because I'm feeling really nervous about something. And when I get nervous or scared, I remember this time from this past when this happened. And so, right, because I've talked about before the negativity bias, right? Like our brains are wired for these negativity moments because it feels protective, right? So beating ourselves up mentally, talking us out of doing something that makes us feel nervous is a protective skill to keep us out of danger. And when we make friends with our thoughts and we notice that like, oh, this thought's coming up that's trying to talk me out of doing something, noticing like, why is this coming up for me? What's the emotion attached to it? And then saying like, oh, I'm nervous because maybe I've never done this before. This feels outside of my comfort zone, but this is something I still really do want to do. So I'm going to do it anyways, knowing that I'll feel nervous and uncomfortable the first time I do it, but that'll get easier with time. But maybe the voice is, and the inner critic is showing up because something's making you feel nervous and uncomfortable. But when you tune in, you notice, oh, it's because this goes against my boundaries. This is not for me. I'm feeling like I should do this thing, but I don't actually want to do this thing. So that's why, I'm being extra critical of myself. That's why I'm feeling this way. So this is something that I have to make a choice. Do I still want to do it or do I not want to do it? Right. And it could be like, oh, this is something that's for later. This is not for now. Like it took me a while to start this YouTube channel. I knew I wanted to, but I knew I wasn't in a place to do it like the first year of my business. I had energy I needed to focus other ways. Other things that will happen with the mindfulness journey will happen later, right? I recognize what's my capacity, what's my limits, what's fits in my business right now to keep it running sustainably so it can grow and it can expand over time. I'm not going to do all the things. I'm going to do these things and then slowly add in piece by piece by piece. But I don't beat myself up for doing it. I know so many people who have a YouTube channel. They have podcasts. They're on TikTok. They're doing reels. They run a Facebook group. They do public speaking. They do summits. They like one person who does all those things. I mean, they have a VA, so they have someone to help them with some of the tasks. But physically speaking, that's all them. And that's great for them and their business, but that is not sustainable for me at this point. So I don't do those things. I pick and choose the things that I want to do. And I know that like, this is something I can add on later, right? I've shared before, I'm not on TikTok because it's just one more thing to take focus away from what I'm working on. And it's another source of energy that I just don't have to give away. but I'm not like, oh, I should be on TikTok and everybody else is on TikTok and people are going to, right? I make friends with my thoughts by recognizing through the welcome at practice that I'm like, no, it's okay. This is not for me at this point, right? But I also recognize when it's like, am I avoiding this? It took me a while to get onto Reels, but I was like, I can't do TikTok and Reels. I mean, I know I could probably just take one to the other, but I don't want to get caught up in paying attention to a whole other social media aspect. I'm just sticking with what's here. And when we make friends with our thoughts, it keeps us from feeling worse in any situation, right? Our goal in life is to always not make things worse. And our brains and our thoughts can almost always make things worse, right? I can't tell you how many times myself talking to clients or to friends where we start off talking about a situation and then their thoughts take over and then they've taken this, molehill and they've turned it into a mountain. An example I often use is you're texting somebody, the message bubble shows up, and you know that they're responding to your message, and then it goes away and no text shows up. And so you're like, okay, well, they maybe got distracted, but then time goes by and they still haven't responded. And so now you're like, well, what did I say? And then you go back and you reread your message and you're like, did I say something wrong? Are they mad at me? Are they mad at me? Right? That's usually one of our first places. And then we start to spiral. And then it becomes a bigger thing. And I know that like in dating myself, some of my clients over the years that I've talked with dating in particular, it turns into this whole big thing. And then you're convinced that the reason why the person didn't text you back was because secretly they actually are married to somebody else and they have a whole family. And you're like, whoa, what? Because they didn't text back right away. And that's why we make friends with our thoughts. So when those thoughts start to happen, we start to ruminate, when we start to spiral, we can recognize and say, oh, okay, my thoughts are getting, my thoughts are going down this road. I'm going to turn my mind back to this moment, to what I know, to what I feel, and I'm going to take care of me. And, maybe text this person back tomorrow and say, hey, like, are you like to just check in with them or let it go or whatever feels needed. But if I don't, and if I don't make friends with my thoughts and my thoughts start to ruminate, I can continue down that train. I can continue to make myself feel even worse over something that was probably pretty small. And so by making friends with my thoughts, I'm only dealing with the first arrow, the inevitable pain of life, right? The feeling of being maybe rejected because the person hasn't responded, versus all the thoughts and judgments and resistance around it. So it's noticing like, oh, this is how I'm feeling in this moment. What do I need to feel better? Take a walk, call a friend, right? Call someone who feels supportive, watch a movie, read a book, right? Anything to kind of take care and soothe myself and to make friends with me and my thoughts, but also my body, versus, continuing on that train of rumination, which only ever leads to feeling worse. And then maybe you end up sending another message and then making the situation into a huge thing that it wasn't, right? Because we don't actually know why the person got, started writing the text message and it went away. Could have been something super simple. They got distracted themselves, somebody called, somebody walked into the room, somebody asked them a question, anything could have happened that we don't know about, but our minds take us to one direction. But by making friends with our thoughts, we can avoid all that. And wouldn't that be great? Oh, you can just imagine the feeling of ease from taking all of that off of your plate. And so the welcome mat practice is one of the meditations that I have that helps us to make friends with our thoughts by paying attention to our thoughts, paying attention to our emotions, and paying attention to how that shows up physically in our body, metaphorically laying out a welcome mat to each. And you can download an audio version of that below this video. So when thoughts like this show up, we notice them, we try to take a step back and notice them from a distance. Let them pass by like clouds floating in the sky, leaves floating down a stream, right? Not judging ourselves for the thoughts, allowing them to come and to go. Thought arises, floats past like a cloud. Next thought, same thing. And we can do this practice together, as I said below this video. And there's a shift even in just the idea of allowing and welcoming. Like, it doesn't matter what thoughts show up into my head today. I'm just going to allow and welcome them in. Even in that moment, you're taking sort of control over the moment, right? I can control what I do and say next because I'm just allowing what is. And that's not to say that like I can do whatever I want because I'm allowing and I'm welcoming. But I'm noticing like, oh, these thoughts show up and I feel this way. And then I want to do these things. Is this something I actually want to do? Maybe, maybe not, right? I taught these skills to one of my clients, and she was always one who her partner would say something, she would interpret it in one way, and then she would respond because she felt angry, attacked, upset. And then it turned into a fight. And then they were mad at each other. And when she started practicing these skills, welcoming them in, being more mindful, she stopped engaging when her brain was telling her that, oh, this person is, mad at you. She took a step back and she paused. They didn't get into as many fights. She said their relationship was so much better because she realized that a lot of the times her insecurity was showing up and it was telling her things that weren't factually true. Thoughts are just thoughts, they're not fact, but she would believe them, right? He doesn't want to be with you anymore. That's why he said this thing. Or that's why, like, and by said this thing, I mean like they had plans and then he had to cancel. And so she means something as a slight against her. When she started to pause, to step back, realized, like, I don't know this. I'm going to only operate with what I do know and come from this space, making friends with the thoughts, making friends at the moment. And then, like, the partner would always kind of make up to her, like, by rescheduling another date. Because it was like this, I got stuck at work and I couldn't see you, but now tonight I have free. Are you available to meet? But if she hadn't made friends with her thoughts when the thoughts started to ruminate and she got on that train, if she had gotten on that train of rumination, she would have said something out of anger and fear, caused a fight, and then they wouldn't have had the date. I mean, that's just one example. But it also happens with like, you're trying to, in work situations, right? Somebody says something, you take it to mean one thing, but they meant something completely different, but you don't really know because we're not always very clear what's going on in our heads, right? You board that rumination train, you think my coworker hates me, or this person that I'm trying to book a podcast with, right? Like they're not getting back to me. We were supposed to do this thing, but then it all fell apart. And now what's going to happen, right? Even just listening to me talk about these examples, you can almost feel the tension starting to rise. So we stop, we pause, notice, okay, this is like my brain going a mile a minute. What's showing up for me now? And that's a question that we should ask ourselves all the time. What's showing up for me now in this moment? Because I can work with this moment, right? Noticing, paying attention over and over and over again. It does get easier the more we do it. And the first step, as I said, is to make friends with our thoughts by not judging the judgments that show up, pausing and being with them. As I said, I'm going to link below a guided audio meditation called the Welcome Mat, which gives you more opportunity to practice this idea of being friends with our thoughts and our emotions and how it shows up in our body. And I will link that below. I will speak more about this through the course of these videos because really imposter syndrome and the inner critic, like they show up all the time, but by learning how to be more friends with them, I can really work with them. So I will, as I said, link to the meditation below, but I will continue to talk on this topic. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye.